Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up-and-coming around the Lego world. I'm your Minifigure host, Matt. Let's bet on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing? Episode 203 today. And today we are talking about a new release that is coming your way that you may or may not have heard of. But what we are talking about is the new Santa's Visit set. This set falls under the Winter Village theme, which everybody, like this time of the year, it's like Winter Village, woohoo, let's go, it's Winter Village time, it's time to get out Santa and all this kind of, the gingerbread and Elf Clubhouse and all that kind of stuff, and the train, it's time to do all the craziness. And today, we are going to talk about what this set has to offer, what is great about it, and there's really not anything that is bad about it, to be honest. So let's jump into it. So the biggest thing about this is the details. Everybody wants to know, what are the details? What are the details? Well, okay, just hang on a minute, okay? We'll get to details. So this thing, it's called the Santa's Visit Set 10293. It has a retail price of $100 here in the US, 90 euros or 80 pounds. What is going on? It's crazy. 140 if you're in Canada, or 160 if you are in Australia. I don't quite know how that extrapolates with Dan in New Zealand. I imagine it's probably similar. Anyway, this thing has 1,445 pieces. Immediately, that should set off a thing in your brain like, whoa, dude, almost 1,500 pieces, $100? What? So when I was building this thing, I didn't know the price point yet. The press release had not come out. I had no idea how much this thing costs or any of the more specific type thing. And I was building it and I'm like, okay, it's just about 1,500 pieces. I'm like, okay. I told my wife, I told my son, I'm like, this is going to be $1,500, right? Or $1,500. This is going to be $150, right? Maybe 130. This has got to be 130, right? Okay, maybe 120. No? Okay, it's got to be 130. There's no way. I did not expect this to be a $100 set. Like, no way in heck did I expect this to be a $100 set. I fully expected this thing to be way more based on the pieces alone. And the thing is, it's not like we're getting a giant ton of pieces. You're getting pieces that are fairly standard for the Lego category. You're not getting really anything specialized. So it's kind of crazy. Now, if you're curious, this thing is 19 centimeters high. I'm not quite sure what it is in inches. 27 centimeters that is in width and 16 centimeters in depth. I will say this is not the deepest Winter Village set that we have seen in a while. This is fairly kind of shallow, if that makes any sense. The good thing is, if you are a VIP member, which is highly important, VIP members, you can pick this up on the 16th of September. That is, about a week away? That's huge. It's like it gets earlier and earlier. Like, okay, it's not Christmas in September. It's Christmas in August. It's Christmas in July. It's Christmas in January. Hey, you're getting the Winter Village in January instead of September or whatever. Anyway, I'm just totally kidding with you. If you are somebody that is not a VIP member, by the way, it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to be a VIP member. Anyway, if you are not, it comes out October 1st. So if you have somebody in your life that isn't a VIP member, maybe you want to get them on board. But if not, it comes out October 1st. Standard fare for the Winter Village stuff to push into, into the holiday season. Are you guys ready to talk about this? I feel like I have done all of the boring stuff. Like we have this and we have that. I will tell you one other thing. You may consider it boring or not. Back in May, I had an opportunity to talk to Chris McVeigh. Chris McVeigh is the designer of this set. He's done, I think, the last 2 Winter Villages. He's done other sets as well. Chris has done some extraordinary sets in his time. Now, this he had mentioned there are exclusive prints in here that go back to his mom's cookies. Oh my God, I can't wait to share that little detail with you. So we'll get to that here in a moment. So let's talk about the set, break down what it is, and get into all the nitty gritty that you're waiting for before you go and you spend all your extra pennies on this. So I think we need to start with what the model did, probably the most impressive build of all. When I saw this back in May, not only was I impressed that Santa was a huge part of this, like an integral part of the build, but we have seen Christmas trees. How many Christmas trees has Lego done? I mean, you think back to the GWP, we're talking what? I don't know, 2-3 years ago. We're talking back to different Winter Village sets throughout. We have seen so many different iterations of Christmas trees. This one, even though it's not as big as the one that was done a few years ago for the GWP, it will kill you. And the reason it is going to kill you is this. You have a base for this thing, and the base is just simple. You know, it's that brown. It's 2 different colors of brown, by the way. But the tree is really nice. And when Chris showed us this, I was like, wow, that is kind of cool. That looks nice. There are transparent pieces that are in here, the clear pieces that are in here. And what this lovely puppy does is it has a light brick on the bottom of the tree. You have the tree, the light bricks on the bottom, not a big deal. You're like, oh, you know what? I've seen light bricks before. It's not anything special. Oh, but it is. So the light brick that is in this, what you do is it is attached to the tree itself. It's not attached. It's just loosely sat in there. But when you sit it into the base, the trigger, if you've ever seen a light brick before, it has a pressable trigger where you can actually, press on it and, a light comes out. In this case, the yellowish orange type light. And what it does is it lights up all the transparent pieces. This is the first time Lego has ever done a tree like this. You should be like, your brain should be exploding at this point in time. Your grape housing unit should be just like, you should be crying with happiness at this point in time. It is exquisite in the way this is done. Yes, you have the green of the tree branches of the evergreen tree that are sticking out, and you have the 1x1 round studs, plates. Sorry, not studs. The 1x1 round plates that are sticking out here that are on the bottom side of these slopes and stuff. But the idea that they got this thing to light up, the only issue is the top doesn't light up as much as the bottom. You have a yellow gemstone that is in the top and it lights up. And right now, obviously you guys can't see me, this is a visual bit. What? Anyway, so I'm depressing this, and there's actually a stream of light that comes out of the top of the yellow. It was one of those things that I tested after I looked at it. I was like, is there light coming out of this? There sure is. And it's a small beam, but it really doesn't light the yellow. Now, if you were in a dark space, remember when we talked about Monkey Kid with the glow-in-the-dark pieces? If you're in a dark space, you'll be able to see this. And what is nice is the weight of the tree is not heavy enough to depress that in the stand. So the thing is, even though this thing is, has a light brick end on it, it is not going to depress unless you push it down. And my wife goes, well, it'd be cooler if it was lit all the time. No. Do you have any idea how, those batteries, I think there's 3 of them in there. They're super duper tiny. They're tinier. And I've got little girl hands. Y'all know this. They are tinier than my pinky fingernail. They are super duper tiny. They are tiny batteries. And there's a few of them that are in there. I don't want to have to go and, take a tiny screwdriver at that and open this thing and put in these new batteries. I don't want to have to do that. So I like the idea that you just have to depress it to get the look. Maybe you want to take a photography shot. I'm sure you photogs out there that are Lego enthusiasts have a way of figuring this out. I have no doubt in my mind. So enough of the tree. You're like, the tree, yeah, move on. The tree is pretty amazing. If you don't know by now, the tree is exquisite. It's probably one of the coolest things you guys have ever seen. Now, there are 3 minifigs that come in this set, and we're going to talk about them here in a little bit, but there's also a little bit of a side build. Remember when we did, I can't remember what last year was. There were other little trinkets and stuff like that, little gifts and things like that. And there are gifts here. There are a few different gifts that we have here. One of them, which is a trumpet, which is actually a cool little build, but it is quite large for minifig scale. Anyway, you have a little gate set up that is set outside of the house. You can put it on the front of the house, forward of the house, as if it is supposed to be like the front fencing area of the home. I don't know if there are fencing options all over the world. I don't have a fence in my front yard here in Texas. It is not something that just happens, but most places it doesn't happen. I didn't have a fence in my front yard as a child. Maybe it's just meant to be like lore or something like that. Either way. What you have here is you have a few fencing pieces. You have snow that is on top of the fencing. You have snow that is used with some slope pieces that is on the ground. You have a mailbox here. I do like the mailbox build, and the mailbox build is not quite something you really expect. There is a wreath type thing underneath the lantern that is on the one fence post. The fence post is actually pretty cool because it has 2 different levels of snow on top of the post aside from the fencing segment itself. The lantern, this is like the first time I can recall Lego using the opalescence piece in the lantern. It is gorgeous, and here's why. It doesn't matter how the light hits it. It is something that just glows. It gives that, it hits that sparkle in the plastic, and it emanates light. And not light in a sense of like a light brick. It just gives it magic. It gives it sparkle. It gives it twinkle. It fits the holiday theme, man. And that's what I'm talking about. So what I have here is I have I guess he's supposed to be the dad minifig here. And we'll talk about him after. But he has a letter that he is carrying to the mail. Maybe it could be a letter to Santa. Who knows? So let's get into the main build of this thing. The main build is something that I honestly thought was smaller than what I expected. It was smaller than what I expected. I expected something a little bit bigger. Now, I know what the gingerbread house was. It had kind of that feel as far as size goes. The Elf Clubhouse, I can't quite remember last year. Maybe it was similar, but 1,500 pieces. I expected to go a little bit further than what it did. I'm not shaming Chris at all, the designer of this. All I'm saying is I just expected it a little bit, to be a little bit more robust than what it was. So let's start from the front of this thing. On the front of this thing, you have snow-covered roofs. You have snow-covered peaks. You have snow everywhere. Snow in the chimney. You have snow on the trees. They use the leaf pieces in white. In this case, you have a brick-built tree that actually has a birdhouse on it, which is a pretty neat addition. And then you have a little snowbird that is sitting in a window. I do love that. It's a white bird. Oh, my God, I love it so much. However, in the front, what you have is a house that is kind of, it has this weird angle. It just doesn't feel the most functional. If I guess that is if I can describe it best, it's not as functional as I expected it to be. And here's what I mean. So you have a home. If you're looking on the front door straight ahead, your angles coming off of it are probably about 45 degrees each way. That gives you about a 90-degree angle, roughly. It's probably not quite like that. But either way, your left and your right side are about 45 degrees askew from the center line. What is really neat is the pitch of the roof in the center section. The center section is super skinny, super skinny. Now, you also have some evergreen pieces with some cherries that are used here. I guess that's supposed to be maybe like more poinsettia or something like that go up and adorn that section in front of that part of the roof, which is really nice because what it does is adds a pop of color to the white and the very lightly colored blue, the more mauve-ish, more toned down light blue where you could fall asleep from looking at it. It's so gently calm. And then you get woken up by a few different other things, right? On the just above the doorway, you have a some sconces, what looks like sconces. They look like golden bells that are hanging here. Nice little builds with some evergreen as well. You have a window that is on the second story for that section. But what is nice again is we are using that opalescence color that allows you to give those lamps more character, more color, more desire to them, other than using a clear piece or a yellowish colored piece. I love the idea that they chose to do this here. You have a brick-built reef that is on the door. Now, the brick-built reef that is on the door actually doesn't attach to the door, because if you know anything, there's only one stud on the door that usually goes for the doorknob. In this case, they use a pizza wedge. In this case, the beautifully designed reef is attached from the back side of the door and is just held there between the window pieces on the front and the back. It's just held in those slots right there. It's so nice. I love it. It is something I haven't seen before, but I absolutely love it. It is so cool. So as we make our way down, you do have some texture that is just down below the lamps that is here, but it's just a 1x1 round plate. It's not anything that was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Now, under the windows, you have a window on the left, you have a window on the right. The window on the left has your bird that is sitting there, and the window on the right does not. Down below them, you have some greenery pieces. These are the Wolverine claws. So the same greenery pieces that I was talking about in the center mast of this is Wolverine claws. They are the Wolverine claws in that green color, and they use some cherries. Now, to the right of this thing, to the right of that main house, you have a snowman that is made out of a few pieces. I do like the way the snowman looks. Now, if you continue that, we're going to the right, by the way, if you aren't familiar. We are going to the right in this case, and you do have some more golden sconces or whatever that are sticking out here. Now, here's my bugaboo about this. The ones on the side two windows, on the right side of this build, which you have the greenery and the cherries underneath the window, but those have gold with gold, or the pearl gold with pearl gold. The ones that are in the center above the door are pearl gold with black attachments. That it doesn't fit the scheme. It doesn't, like, why? What are we going for here? Because it's got to be one or the other. It has to match the whole way around, and it doesn't. And that kind of bothered me a little bit. So moving around, we're going to rotate towards the back. As we rotate towards the back, there's a ton of things. But wait, no, we've got to go around, right? We're going to go back to the left side. And here's why. I'm tricking you. Are you paying attention yet? You should be paying attention. We go to the left side where you have this huge brick-built chimney. Lego has done chimneys before. This thing is robust. You could probably shove, I don't know, you could probably shove something of significant girth and depth down into this thing, and it probably wouldn't move. It is a very deep cavern of nothingness. You have dark bluish gray, you have light bluish gray. The light bluish gray here is they use a 1x2 plate that has the studs that have holes in the middle and is rounded on the end. And what this thing is doing is giving you texture. We aren't using texture bricks here. We're giving you texture by plates. And it looks really, really sharp. And on top of the chimney, you have what is supposed to look like a snow mask. Now, on the top of that, you also have two studs that are open as well. This is where you can put your Santa figure, which comes with the set, and we'll talk about it. So I guess technically it's 4 minifigs. I forgot about Santa. I always think about the family, not Santa. Santa comes with his bag, and what is neat is this thing goes the whole way down inside of the house, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's talk about some other things. We're on the back side of this thing. Let's flip this beast around. Let's go from left to right in this case. In the child's room, in the child, I feel like it's something from Mandalorian. It's not Mandalorian. But in the child's room, in the little kiddo's room, you have a nice brick-built bed. I do like the way that is done. It's kind of in the Seinfeld-esque set design. I felt like that is the way that it was done. She has a little desk here as well. And what is cool is the panel segment for the roof actually uses a Technic mechanism, which you're basically using with your hand, folds out so you can get access into her bed, into her chair, where she has this little tile that is in here. It has a sticker. It says, "Dear Santa," and there's nothing else on it. Obviously, it's, printing that is supposed to look like writing. She also has this cool little tile that is in here that has a rocket that is going across the sky. Now, if you are somebody that looks deep into things, you're like, you know what? Lego did this. They did this clue. I should know what it is. It means this is coming. They've done this in many, many, many sets. They did it with the elephants for the new City Wave that is out currently, where they teased it, and most people didn't pick up on it. I didn't pick up on it. So just think about that. Anyway, so you have her bed. You have her area where she is, she has a balcony, not a balcony, a railing so that she doesn't fall overboard. So you have that, you have the roof piece that closes up, and on that roof piece you have I'm assuming this is supposed to be a planet. You have a lime green ball, Technic ball, that has the receptacle spot for a Technic axle, I think is more the proper terminology here. And then you have this gold ring that goes around it. It reminded me of like Saturn. That's what it reminded me of on her ceiling, which is kind of neat. It comes off on that roof piece. So as we rotate towards the center, we are still on the top. Mind you, it is quote unquote 2 stories, but it is really kind of only 1 story aside from her bed. If you've ever seen Christmas Vacation, you are going to love this. This is supposed to be like the attic area of the home. And up here, there is a present that uses some 2x2 round plates. It's decorated in pink, white. It is supposed to be a present that is either A, been long forgotten, or B, a present that you're hiding from your kids, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. As we rotate further towards the right, you get the chimney. Let's go down to the bottom floor and go from left to right. Underneath the child's bed, the young child, right? You have a nice adorned kitchen. And what you have in here is you have a brick-built loaf of bread. You have some sand green for the cabinetry and stuff like that. You have a really nice faucet and sink area, which I was really impressed with. And then you have a mixer. You have a mixer on the countertop that is red and uses one or two? You get 2 of them here. You get 2 of the light bluish gray mixer head pieces, which is really nice. And they are just basically held in by friction. They are attached above, but it is essentially by friction here. You also have a little cooktop or oven/stove that has a pan on top. And then you have a nice little column that is in white that is done along with another potted plant. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment to talk about more of this amazing set. As we move towards the center of this, the center of this is where it is sold by me. And here's why. You have a beautiful kitchen table, dining room table that has a red runner on it that uses the Nexonite shield pieces on the ends. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. You have 2 little greenery pieces that are in the center, along with candles. We've seen candles many, many times. A few cups on the table. The brick-built chairs. There's 4 of them here. And what they use is those same pieces I was talking about, the 1x2 with the rounded ends that have the open studs in black. Those are what make up the legs or the feet here. And you have some tiles, some rounded tiles, and some square tiles that are used here to make up the chairs for your minifigs to sit. Maybe you want to invite Santa. Now, the backs do move, so you can lounge your minifigs back or whatever. Now, those chairs don't have studs, so they are free sitting. You're going to have to move your minifigs around however you so choose, but that is the case no matter what. So as we move to the right side and the end of this build, for the most part, what you have is you have the bottom of your chimney, you have your mantle, you have a beautiful family picture that is on the wall above the mantle, above the clock that is on the mantle, along with the candles that are on the mantle, with greenery that is on the mantle. There's a lot of stuff on the mantle or above the mantle. You have 3 brick-built stockings. Mom, dad, child, or however you want to label it. You can do it however you so choose. But you have 3 different stockings that are brick built that are on here. I do like that they aren't repeat stockings. They are repeat from other sets. They are not repeat in the sense that they are the same here. So you have those, and then you have a fire that is glowing, that is using those fire pieces, the fairly new fire pieces that is from Lego that they use here. And it is on a mechanism. It is on a tiny mechanism that you actually don't hand operate for once in your life, right? You're like, what? This is chaos. So next to the fireplace, you have another brick-built place to sit, this case being a chair. It's actually a nice little armchair. I really like the way that is done. So you have your Santa up top. Santa, how is Santa supposed to go down a chimney that is adorned with flame? Look, if I'm Santa, I don't want to go down anything where A, I'm getting burned, B, getting attacked by an animal, or C, I may, endure bodily harm. I may break my knees. Like, I don't want to do that. No, I'm just kidding. But Santa is going down this chimney, whether he likes it or not. And the cool thing is, the bag that he has in his hand, he can actually go down the chimney himself. So I'm going to put Santa here. It's wide enough. You drop Santa down the chimney, and what does he do? He pops out at the bottom, and he pushes out the flames. How crazy is that? To push out the flames, like Santa is coming down in such a whoosh that he extinguishes the flames. Is that what's going on? Anyway, so Santa pops out. He puts the gifts out or whatever. You do have a number of gifts that are in here that you can put in here for your child or your adult to get. You have a rocket. You have what is supposed to be, I'm assuming this is like a birdhouse. It has a roller skate. It's got a little green piece, a tiny little gift as well. You also have, like I said, the trumpet, and you have another little rounded gift that is here. Before we get to the minifigs, here's probably... okay, it might not be the coolest part, but it's probably one of the coolest parts ever. Not only does Santa have cookies that he is drinking, cookies, milk, it's standard fare for Santa. You have a mug for cookies and a cookie on the right side of the fireplace. The cookie is a new print tile. It is a new print tile. And Chris told us this back in May. He said this was a cookie that his mom made for them when they were younger. And I'm assuming still to this day. It is so cool. It almost looks like I think my wife called it more like a snickerdoodle or something. It's a cookie that looks like it has sprinkles on it. So you've got some cookies that are on the table here for Santa to do his thing. Now, behind the chair that is next to the fireplace is probably the most ingenious thing ever. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. How many times have you hidden maybe Lego sets? You've hidden gifts from your kids. I grew up in a house I was one of four. I was the oldest of four. And my parents used black trash bags. They hid things behind the furnace, the washing machine, and the dryer, in the attic. And what do you do as a kid? You're like, oh my God, I have to know what it is. I have to know what it is. And it's funny because recording this episode, my parents were actually here in the last week, and they, I had talked to them about this set and showed them this set, and they were like, I remember when you went through and you snooped this, that, whatever. So there is a gift that is behind the chair. Oh my God, it's so great, because how many kids go look, parents are like, where can I put this? Where can I put this? My wife and I are like, our bedroom, our closet, our bathroom is off limits. They lead one into the other to the other. And I always have this fear of, is he going to go in there? Is he going to go in there when, we're doing something, we're working out, or we're outside doing lawn work or something like that? Is he going to go in there and do that? Now he's 12 now. So maybe that's not necessarily his MO, but as a young kid, you're like, after you realize Santa's not real, you're like, what can I do? What can I do to be able to go find out what I'm getting for Christmas this year, or what are my siblings getting for Christmas this year? So I thought that was really neat. It really touched me. I really liked that. It was really cool. As far as the set goes, you only have 4 stickers that are in here. Let's talk about minifigs. You have Mom, you have Dad, you have Santa. Santa's print is really nice, by the way. He comes obviously with his beard, because Santa always has to have a beard unless he's cleanly shaven, which is kind of scary to me. I don't know that I would want to see that. Dad, here's what you get with Dad. Dad has 2 faces. He has his mustache on both sides. He's got his standard fare, like we're just going about business, and then the other one where he's full of glee. Or if you want to put it a certain way, he could be like, I just hid a present from my daughter and she has no idea. That's the way I tend to look at it. It works for me well. So mom is wearing a purple jacket. She's got a shirt on underneath. And I will tell you the coloring of I guess you could call it white, more of a grayish white, is pretty good because it's against the purple. It does look a little purplish though. It's like a light purple. She has a necklace that she is wearing as well in her print. She has a standard face we have seen so many stinking times, where she's got the kind of eyelashes done with the smiley face, and on the other side, her eyes are closed and smiley face again. She is holding maybe a cup of Joe, maybe a cup of milk, whatever she's drinking. Who knows? Maybe it's Grandpa's cough medicine. We just never know. So when we get on to the small fig here, the mini fig, small fig, where you have the short legs here that is going on with the tealish color for the pajamas, for the legs and the top. She has a beautiful print that I love on the front and back of her torso. She has a minifig face, mouth agape, and the other one is the sleeping face with her pigtails that she has in her hair, the black pigtails, and she is holding a cookie. So I really like what the minifigs have to offer. They really just bring in a separate enjoyment of what this set is supposed to be. You have the build, you have the tree, but how magical of a set is it when you can think about, you've been there as a kid. Santa is coming. Oh my God, Santa's coming. Oh my God, Santa is coming. You have that in your mind. You have those memories in your mind, hopefully. I hope you do. But you also have the Christmas morning where you could wake up, you can move Santa aside. The Santa going down the chimney is iconic. No matter what film you watch, I'm thinking of the Santa Claus movie where, well, what about people that don't have a fireplace? Well, one just kind of appears, is what Charlie said. And that's what you're getting here. It's here, but you get that feeling, you get that love, you get that desire, and you're getting something else that you can display with all of your other Winter Village sets. If you're not somebody that's into it, that's fine. But in its own right, the building techniques here aren't something I was like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. But the foldable part of the roof, to be able to manipulate it, to be able to get to the bedroom, I like that. That wasn't done last year with the Elf Clubhouse. We saw the cookie maker, waffle maker. I can't remember what it was. We saw that last year. Something different. A little bit of movement here. A little bit of movement there. This is different. You don't have any mechanisms that make movement work. Santa goes down the chimney, free, simple, done. You have the panel that opens up to be able to get to that. You have the Christmas tree that presses down and lights up the Christmas tree. That should be enough alone to say, you know what, I'm going to spend my pennies here. I'm going to spend my euros here. This is where I want to be. This is my happy place. This is the time of the year where I want to do this kind of thing. And it really works. So as a whole, I would say this set exudes the spirit of the holiday season. As far as Christmas goes, if you don't celebrate Christmas, maybe it falls under something else for you. The white panels of the roof in the front, the way they lock in, we've seen pieces that lock in before, and I will tell you this. So my dad is in his early to mid 60s, and my dad doesn't do Lego. He probably hasn't done Lego since I was a kid, and we're probably talking 30 years ago, maybe 20, late 20 something years ago. And my wife and I went to go out of the house to go get my son's birthday cake, and I come back. I think there's 9 bags, if I'm not mistaken. I had done like 6 of them, and I come back, and 20 minutes later, and he's building this thing. He's building this thing. A man that has not touched Lego in almost 3 decades is building this thing. And he went about it, and he had questions like, well, this doesn't make sense. How does this attach? Well, so he got to the end of, I think it was bag 7, maybe bag 8. And he had a 1x4 left. He's like, yeah, here's the extras. I said, that's not an extra. I hate to tell you, Dad, that is not an extra. That is not something like, I was like, here, you get an extra 1x4. That doesn't happen. Y'all know. It doesn't happen. So I was like, okay, no, let's go back in the instructions. Let's look. He's like, oh man, I missed it. He's like, do you want to finish this? I was like, no. So I sat back at we were at the kitchen table. My son was building a Technic set we're going to be talking about here in episodes coming up. And they're building together. And I'm just sitting back and I'm like, I've built hundreds of Lego sets in my career. Probably hundreds of Lego sets here in the last year, easily. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, this is cool. There's a bonding experience going on between generations. My dad, who hasn't touched Lego in almost 3 decades, is building things. He's got his glasses on. He's looking at things. And he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, hey. And I'm just impressed. And the funny thing is, and I know I'm off on a tangent and we'll get back to it here in a second. The funny thing is, he said, I could never do Lego. And I said, why? Well, why not, Dad? Why couldn't you do Lego? It's fun. It's peaceful. It's enjoyable. And he said, because I would be addicted to it and I would spend too much money. And I said, okay, but what if you bought a set a month? And I'm not talking maybe a giant modular where it's going to cost you $300-$400 or a big giant Technic set. I said, what if you bought something small just to tickle the itch, where it's something that you got to do? Now, had he built this, mind you, he did 3 bags, and it probably took him the same amount of time that I did 3 bags or 6 bags in. I probably did it even faster, but it's my realm. I'm constantly doing that. But for somebody to be able to find it, pick it up, and do it for the first time in like I said, almost 3 decades, that is huge. That stuck to me. And I was like, man, this is like a bonding experience. We got 3 generations here. I'm watching y'all. I'm not helping, but I'm watching y'all. I'm like, it gave me a giant heart feeling, from the Grinch movie, like the cartoon movie from 1965, I think. It gave me that big heart feeling. Like it's growing so much. And I just appreciated that. It was a really great thing to me. And, so I had not built the Santa, but I had majority of the chimney done. I already knew what the chimney did because Chris McVeigh had showed me back in May. I already knew what was going on there. And I dropped a minifig down and zoom, out they come. And we get back and like I said, he had already built it. And once he got to that part where he had Santa, he goes, no, it goes down he can hold the bag and go down. I was like, no, he can't. He's like, yeah, watch. Sure enough, he did. I was like, what is going on here? You know something I don't even know because you finished it off. Either way, the set as a whole, I think you guys are going to be impressed. If you're a Winter Village person, it's an easy buy. If you're not, I still think it's a fairly easy buy. If you're more Americanized, this is what Chris did this year. It was more of an Americanized Christmas type story, Christmas type theme, Christmas type idea. So that is where it is. It should hit you closer to home. Now, if you live in other parts of the world, maybe it doesn't quite work for you, but Chris really stepped out and pulled in something that I really enjoyed. Elves are fictitious. Obviously, Santa's fictitious, but the elves and the gingerbread house, those weren't things that are more iconic. Those are more things like, well, gingerbread houses aren't real. Elves aren't real. They don't really have a workshop. This is a home. These 3 people do live here or can live here. Santa, be what it is, be as it may. Okay, Santa's not real. But the rest of it exudes real life, real world. And I think all the other things that go along with this really make the set. That's just my personal opinion. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. If this is a day one purchase for you, or you kind of like, you know what? We'll see what happens. But I have a feeling this is probably going to sell better than the gingerbread house easily. Maybe even better than last year. I'd be curious to know what the sales numbers were. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I had a blast talking about it. There's so many different things that are in this thing. And it's only 1,500. I say only 1,500 pieces. It looks smaller than 1,500 pieces, but man, it is really well done. It's really well detailed. So until next time, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.